parents, teachers, and everyone who's watching this video right now. So today what I decided is that we will go with some of the grammar portion. So we have studied letter to God yesterday and day before yesterday. It will be completed very soon. Today, since it's Friday, I thought we'll do English grammar for Friday and Saturday. So before going into that, I would like to answer two of the most asked questions ever. These two questions are related to English language, of course. So these are the questions that most of the people ask me, students most of the time. They ask me these questions. The first question is, why do I always forget specific terms or words while speaking, even if I know it? So the question, what it means is, sometimes when you are speaking or sometimes when you are talking to someone, you tend to forget the word. You know what to use, what word to use. So you get stuck in between of a sentence. So why does it happen? Because you know the word, if you are writing it, you know the word. But when you are speaking with someone or when you are talking to someone, the word all of a sudden vanishes from your mind and you are stuck in between the sentence. So you don't know the word. So why does that happen? And the other question, I have no knowledge of grammar, can I speak good English? So some students always tell me that I don't know that much of grammar, so do you think it's possible for me to speak good English even if I'm not good in grammar? So these two questions are the most asked questions. So I'll give you the reasons behind all of these. Alright? So first of all, let's go to this question. Why do I always forget specific terms or words while speaking even if I know it? This happens to everyone, mostly to the non-English speaking community, people of that community. So it happens. Right, so let's talk about the first question. The question was, whenever I speak in English, whenever I talk to someone in English, I tend to forget about some words that don't come in my mouth. I know the words, but it doesn't just come out. So why does that happen? So to understand that, we need to understand how our brain works. So everyone knows that there's two sections of human brain or human mind. The one is conscious part and the other one is the subconscious. So what happens in conscious section or conscious part is, the conscious part will help you remember and make you aware of each and everything that's going on around. So that means you will yourself consciously try to remember things in your mind willingly. Let's take an example of examination. So what do you do when the exam is near? You prepare. So preparing for something goes into your conscious mind because you know that your exams are coming up and you need to prepare that subject. So that goes in conscious mind. Whenever you read something, whenever you are interested in something, that everything, all those goes in conscious mind. And what does subconscious mind do? Now, there are certain things, let's say when you are going to the market, you see some street, you see some banner, you see hoardings, you see the name of shop, name of, all those kind of brands and everything, big hoardings, right? So when you pass through the streets, you see all this kind of stuff. But your conscious mind does not record that. The subconscious mind will record those kind of activities. So the activities which your brain thinks is not important for now. Like when your exam was near, the conscious mind told you that, alright, so we have the examinations, we have to study. That went to the conscious mind. But like I said, when you are traveling, when you are going somewhere, or when you see something but you don't want to remember it, or when you see something casually when you are walking around, right? So those kind of things will go in your subconscious mind. That means you don't willingly remember what the name was, or you don't willingly remember what the name of the brand was, alright? But in your subconscious mind, it will remain. So next time, maybe when you try to think about, or when your friend asks you, what was the name of the street that we went last time? So at that point, your mind will put some pressure on the subconscious part and try to remember the name. Your mind is thinking at this point, it's not that important. Because when you were reading, there was a purpose to it, because your exams are near. That's why you were reading. But these kind of things that you see on the street, the banner, hoardings, or other kind of things, these are not important to you. So that is why the conscious mind will not remember those. It will be in the subconscious part of the mind. So when subconscious mind comes into place later, so later when you need to remember, if you lost something, or if you need to exchange something that you bought from the shop, exchange something that you bought from the market, you will try to remember what was the name of the store, yeah, and what was the name of the street, what was the number of the shop. You tend to think about it, and that is when this comes into play. So at that time, your brain will tell you that, okay, the name of the street, if you have seen it, the subconscious mind will tell you, okay, this was the name of the shop looked like this, the store looked like that, and all that kind of stuff. So subconscious mind does not come into play immediately, but it comes into play eventually. So we can say that subconscious mind is as important as the conscious part. Alright, so there are now some limitations. Alright. Alright, so that happens. So when someone asks you, or let's say you forgot something in the mall, so how do you know where you forgot that stuff, or what was the location and all? At that point, subconscious mind comes into play. Now you put stress on your brain, and you start remembering, you start thinking about where did you go that day, right? And which store did you visit? You start to remember all these things. And you put a little bit of pressure on your brain to remember this, because this was not stored in your conscious part of the mind. This information was stored in the subconscious part. So that is why it takes some time to remember the name of the store that you have seen earlier, but you thought it was not important. So now it will take you a little bit of time to remember it, to go through it. So that is what the subconscious part of the brain does. It plays a really important role in our lives, and in learning, subconscious part of the brain is very, very important. So let me just tell you simply, when we were kids, right? So when we were kids, when teachers were teaching us A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, multiplication and all that kind of stuff, we used to record that in our subconscious mind. Because at that point, we didn't know that this was really important, right? And we used to record that in subconscious mind. So since we did that in subconscious mind, we know that about it still. It is deep inside, and we will never forget about that. We will never forget ABCD. We will never forget about all this numerical system, whatever we learned in when we were child. We will never forget about it. But we tend to forget about things that we learned, let's say last month, last year. So if someone gives you the question paper of last year, you will not be able to answer half of the things, even if you answered it last year. So you are forgetting things. Why? Because you stored that in your conscious mind. The information stored in conscious mind, you will eventually lose that information, and it will be replaced by new awareness or new conscious information. But the things that you have in your subconscious mind, it will be recorded, it will be present for each and every moment that you need it for. So it's kind of like a storage for your subconscious mind. So whenever you want to remember something, whenever you put stress on your brain automatically goes to the subconscious section, and then it tries to find out if the thing that you're looking for, if the word that you're looking for is here or not. That's the case. Conscious, subconscious, English learning. Let's talk about that. So I already mentioned, when we were kids, whatever we did, we recorded it. And that's why we still know about each and everything. And that is called practice. The most important thing, if you want to speak English fluently, if you want to improve your vocabulary, it is practice. Nothing beats practice, and there is no easy way out to learn English like this. It's not possible for you to become expert in English in one day or 1 week, right? So it's not possible, but You need to get that zeal and vigor within yourself that yes, I want to do something. So that is how your brain will activate the subconscious mind, and then whatever you read about, whatever you go through, it will be recorded in that part of the mind that you will remember forever. So when we were kids and we were watching movies, alright, when we were watching movies, when we were listening to songs and all that, at that time also we knew something about the language. We used to learn something about it. So let's take let's differentiate this in such manner. The children who have studied or who have studied in English school, right? They are generally better in English than children who have studied in government schools. That's a fact. So I hope everyone agrees with that, right? So similarly, the children who are exposed to Bollywood more and Hollywood less will be good in Hindi, but they won't be that good in English. And children who are focused on or who are exposed to English culture will be more fluent in English than the other people or other children. So when you focus, when you try to tell your child to study this, when you tell your child to listen to these kind of songs, when you tell your child to watch this kind of movies, that makes a huge impact on the brain. So most of the learning is done in childhood, and most of the things that you learn in childhood will develop further. So if you have watched a lot of Bollywood movies in childhood, then you might remember whatever the lines they said. Okay, I'm not saying a specific line, alright, but those lines which are repeated constantly. Alright, so when you hear about those lines or when you hear about those words, I told you about movies and all that. Let me give you a practical example regarding that. Alright, bear with me when I'm doing this. So I've written a line over here which says Mujhe khana aam hai. Is this correct or not? So you people will tell me that it's not correct, it's wrong. I agree, it's wrong. But how do we know that? I don't know the grammar behind it. I don't know like what kind of noun or whatever it is, in Hindi, what sarvanam, sangya, whatever it is. I don't know the basics behind Hindi grammar. But still, I am able to tell you that this is wrong. And why is it so? Because I have heard about it. So there are some things, like I told you, there are some things we listen to it each and every day. These are common words. So I can say that this is wrong because I don't have these in my vocabulary. I don't have these in my brain. If these were right, then I would have heard it somewhere. So that's why my brain is telling me that even though I'm not that good in Hindi, this is absolutely wrong. I know that. The correct one will be Mujhe aam khana hai. So that is the correct sentence. So I can tell you that this is wrong and this is right without knowing the grammar behind it, right? Just by listening. So that is how it works. Even if you don't know the grammar behind it, there is a possibility that you can speak English properly or you can speak English fluently. So I called a few people. I don't have the video right now, but I'll share with you later. So I called a few people living in United States. I called a few people living in Australia. And then what I did is I asked them specific grammatical questions. I asked them, give me a few examples of prepositions. Some of them told me, what do you mean by preposition? They answered like that. I was quite surprised. And when I asked for pronoun and all that, only a few of the people were able to tell me that. But the way they were speaking English, there was no doubt there was nothing wrong in that. So they speak perfect English, but they don't know the grammar behind it. So it proves that you don't need grammar to be good in English. People living in United States and they don't know the grammar, but they speak the perfect English with the perfect grammar. How do they do that? songs, and their brain keeps on registering those kind of things. So when your brain registers something again and again, so it will be deeply registered that this is the correct way of saying that. So mujhe aam khana hai is the exact way or the proper way of saying that I want to eat a mango, right? So this happens almost everywhere in all the countries. Like, people don't know the grammar behind it, most of the people, but they still speak the language without any error. So what you can do to improve your English, even though you are weak in grammar, I can tell you a few things to do. The first one you can do is watch Hollywood movies. Now you might tell me that you don't understand most of the parts, so what is the point in watching? So the reason behind this is you will see that movies have the options of subtitles. Watch those movies with subtitles on, so that you will be able to know what are the different emotions they are experiencing, what are the different kinds of vocabulary words, and your vocabulary will also be enriched, and you will also understand some of the words by visualizing the action and what they are doing in the video and what the subtitle is showing, trying to match what's happening in the screen with the subtitle. So that is how your vocabulary will get better, and you will also increase your listening skills. The second point is listening to English songs. You can listen to English songs, simple English songs, and you can hum the tune again and again. Alright? You don't have to do it all the time, but let's say 5 minutes or 10 minutes each day, it should do good justice to it. So that you can also understand how you can pronounce the words. The third thing that you can do to improve your English is read a lot. This is also one of the most effective methods improving your English. You need to read a lot every day. Newspapers, books, stories, whatever you get, read it. This also helps you in the same way like you're watching movies and you're listening to songs. You will get new words, you will understand, you will get to learn about new words, and you will also be able to understand what's going on around the world. There are benefits of listening to news too. Alright, so if you do this like for 10 or 15 minutes or 20 minutes each day, then you will dramatically improve your English to a much higher level. But you need to practice each and every single day. So what you can do is you can find someone who shares the same interest as you, who also wants to improve his or her English. So find someone to talk to. So our fourth point is practice speaking in English a lot. Speak in English all the time. When you are talking to yourself, speak in English. Look at the mirror and have a conversation with yourself in English every morning or before you go to bed. If you don't have anyone who shares the same kind of interest, what you can do is you can just look at the mirror, you can talk to yourself. You can tell yourself about how your day was, before going to bed. You can tell yourself what you did today, what you ate, and what are the interesting things, or what are the disappointment that you faced. All these kind of things you can do. If you really want to do it, there are so many ways, but you have to be determined to do that because it's not easy. So if you really need to do it, you got to be starting as soon as possible. Otherwise, it's not possible. Otherwise, you will just end up trying it a few days and then you'll get bored. So your determination should be very, very strong.